Remember when we made fun of all those dumb animals for their weird mating rituals? That was fun, wasn't it? But guess what, stupid humans? This time, it's your turn. Because when it's time to get freaky, humans do some pretty weird stuff in the name of romance, like severing heads, ignoring urgent bowel demands, and marrying a banana tree. So let's take a look at all these and more in our list of the 10 strangest mating rituals. At number 10, heads up. This tribe is some of the original inhabitants of the island of Taiwan, and up until the 1930s, their men were forced to do something pretty nasty in order to woo a lady. They had to give her a gift in the form of a severed head. This head couldn't be just any old head, though. It had to be that of an enemy. So lopping off the noggin of your next-door neighbor ain't gonna cut it. Pun intended. That's like buying gas station flowers the night before Valentine's Day. Kinda. If the woman accepted the gift, then it was displayed for all the community to see, and you could start to make babies. And if not, well, I guess you've got yourself a fancy new paperweight. At 9, Usaba Samba. The sight of two men fighting over a girl's love is a scene that's repeated every day in every town and city all over the world. Cavemen did it. We do it today. And our cyborg ancestors will probably duke it out over hot lady robots in the future, too. But have you ever seen hundreds of men fighting it out over a bunch of girls trapped on a Ferris wheel? Probably not. Unless you've been to the Balinese village of Tananan. Or you're super high right now. Every May, the Usaba Samba Festival sees each single Tananan man engage in a huge open battle, using thorny leaves and bamboo shields to inflict wounds on their opponents, all in the name of love. The village's unmarried girls watch the action unfold from a Ferris wheel, which only stops once the fighting is ended. And when it does, anyone left standing can take a shot at wooing the single girls as they step off the wheel. It's basically what happens at every carny fairground ever, except less violent. At 8, Bomina. Remember all those cheesy 90s movies where a guy's standing outside a girl's window, throwing rocks up at it, and then he serenades her with an acoustic guitar at 3 in the morning? In hindsight, those scenes were kind of creepy. But imagine if the guy hadn't bothered to wake her up, and instead just climbed through her window and crawled into bed with her. That's something you should get 20 years for, right? Not in eastern Bhutan. Here, the practice of Bomina means that young men are free to prowl around the streets looking for a home with an open window where they know a young girl is sleeping. When he's found one, he must seduce her with his words and washboard abs, or leave without waking her family. And it's this last part that's the trickiest, because in rural Bhutan, it's common for young girls to sleep in the same room as their mothers, fathers, brothers, and grandparents. So if the girl isn't interested and you're too loud, your ass is getting beat. On the other hand, if she is into you and you do get down and dirty, don't fall asleep afterwards. Because if you're still there in the morning, you're getting hitched. Number 7, hold your peace. When the Taidong people of Borneo get married, the husband must sing his veiled wife a series of love songs before he is permitted to see her face. Ah, that's quite sweet. But do you know what isn't sweet? The custom that says newlyweds must not have a bowel movement for 3 days. According to Taidong culture, going to the bathroom in the 72 hours after a wedding can cause your marriage to fail, your children to die, or if you don't have children already, they'll be born dead when you do. I've heard of an evil deuce before, but this is... wow. So, in an attempt to help the happy couple stay together, to bond, and have non-dead kids, It's up to the family members to make sure they stick to it. I'm not calling dibs on that job. At 6. Fabulous fellas. Am I the only guy who's jealous that women get all dolled up and we guys just have to sit around looking like hairy sacks of crap? Well, if you feel the same way, you could join the African Wodabi tribe and participate in their courtship festival. This week-long beauty pageant is strictly men only, with the ladies getting to watch on as the guys are grooming themselves to look extra fancy and fabulous. As well as being a beauty contest, men who participate are also judged on how well they can dance and are expected to bust some moves for several hours in the searing heat while continuing to look super fine. This entire festival is geared toward showing off the goods to the ladies. And now that I've seen exactly how much effort is required, I think I'll stick to Tinder. Swiping left and right. Way easier. In at number 5. Whistle for it. Kickapoo. It's a burning bag neighbor trick and the name of a Native American tribe found in Mexico. But the reasons why they're on this list isn't for their name, it's for the fact that for the past 100 years, young Kickapoo kids have developed a system of coded whistles to communicate secretly with the people they want to plow. Before 1915, they used to do this using flutes. But after the devastating worldwide woodwind shortage of the early 20th century, young Kickapoo lovers were forced to communicate using nothing more than lips and fingers. The whistling ritual typically occurs during dusk, and each couple will have their own unique whistling system, presumably to prevent any accidental booty calls with people who are just happy and have a song stuck in their head. Imagine those creepy sunsets. Is it birdsong or horny teenager? At 4. That's bananas. Are you scared that Mars will destroy you or your partner? I know I am. So, why not alleviate this fear by simply marrying a tree? Indian Hindus believe in astrology quite heavily, and if either you or your lover are born within the influence of Mars, it is thought likely that your marriage will be forced to endure arguments, breakups, and even death. But don't worry, if you both are committed to the idea, there is something you can do. Marry a tree, specifically a banana tree. Doing this helps deflect the attention of Mars onto the tree instead of you and your lover, leaving you free to then marry them without fear of being murdered by a planet. After you've served divorce papers to the banana tree, of course, which is always an emotional experience. At 3. The Love Shack. Picture the scene. Your 13-year-old daughter has come home with a boy and she's gonna have sex with him. Do you A, beat the boy to a pulp and chain your daughter to a radiator for 5 years? Or B, build her a sex hut? Well, if you're a member of the Cambodian Kriung tribe, you're all for the second option, because as soon as the girl hits puberty, she's allowed to have sex with whoever she wants for as long as she wants until she finds someone who suits her requirements as a husband. The girl literally calls all the shots, and the dad even has to build her a small shack to do her dirty deeds in. Sounds empowering, but we doubt you'll hear Beyonce singing about this anytime soon. And actually, before we go judging, we should recognize the fact that having children early is crucial to the Kriung way of life. Their existence is built around farming. So daughters providing extra farmhands via the medium of the womb, that just plain helps. At 2. My fat wife. That old stereotype that says women get fat as soon as they get married, it's pretty offensive to some people, unless you live in Mauritania. Because here it's both a real curse and an absolute journey into hell for all the women of this country. In Mauritania, being a large lady is a sign of prosperity, as it implies she'll make a better wife, be great in the sack, as well as showing how well her man takes care of her. However, those women without these desirable traits are forced to change. Mauritanian brides-to-be who aren't fat enough are taken to fat farms, where older women force-feed them until they supersize. They are often abused, and they're beaten if they're caught throwing up. with cases of women being force-fed their own vomit. And at number 1, feeling fruity? In rural Austria, in a tradition that started in the 19th century and which continues to this day, single ladies will keep a small slice of apple under their armpit throughout an evening of dancing. Then, when the right guy arrives, she hands over her armpit strudel, but he ain't sniffing it. Oh no, he's gotta eat it. And if he likes it, they take it to the next level, which I hope is the bedroom, and not seeing what's under her other armpit. And that's our list. Yeah, I wonder how weird our Western mating rituals seem to some of these folks. Probably not as freaky as the things they do to attract tourists in some parts of the world, as you'll see if you watch our recent video on 7 seriously messed up tourist destinations.